We are in a little bit of a holding pattern here. I think the Rules Committee is about to adjourn, and we have a lot of members down there, so we're going to hold up just another minute or two. Someone reported that a lot of House members were at the Rules Committee meeting this morning. I don't know what that's about. The hour of convening having arrived, and the Rules Committee having finished its work this morning, I'm going to ask all members of the House to gather in, report to the floor of the House, and take up seats, be in position to ready to go to work. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? work tomorrow. All members of the House will please report to the floor. Mr. Clerk, ring the bell one more time, and then we're going to take the roll call. All members of the House will please report to the floor and take seats. We are about to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Happy Friday. I hope y'all are as happy as the chair that today is Friday. But we do have a busy day and a long calendar. So we got, what, about 14 bills that stand between you and the lights of home. We are going up. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the lady from the 143rd House District, Chairman Darlene Taylor. Chairman Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, thank you for allowing me to present our pastor of the day. Reverend Jeremy G. Rich is the pastor of the historic First Missionary Baptist Church and the Social Studies Department chair at Bishop Hall Charter School, both of Thomasville, Georgia. Pastor Rich is very involved in the community, serving as the Vice Chair of Planning and Zoning and a member of the Comprehensive Planning Committee, Blueprint for 2025. Pastor Rich is a 2005 graduate of Florida A&M University. Over the past 5 years, Mr. Rich has registered nearly 100 students to vote. His motto, God's work will sustain you when you are right and convict you when you're wrong. Now please help me welcome my friend, Jeremy Rich.
Representative Taylor, Speaker of the House, members of this Georgia House of Representatives, to each of you, my beloved brothers and sisters in Christ. David wrote in the 40th number of Psalms, he said, I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me, and he delivered me. He brought me out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. He hath put a new song in my heart, in my mouth even praise unto our God. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in the Lord. Today I want to simply talk with us. We love the Lord, and he has heard our cry. As David writes this 40th number of Psalm, one of the things that, if we look at this text, one of the things that we gather from it is that he cried unto the Lord, which means David knew that it was God who had the power to change his situation. David recognized that of his own ability he was limited, but with God all things are still possible. With God, changes can be made. With God, we can take a little and be made into much. With God, all things are possible. Not only did the Lord hear David, the Lord did something about David's crime. It's one thing when we make a request, but it's a good thing when the request we make is actually heard. David makes a request of the Lord, and the Lord answers his request. He answers his request by delivering him from the miry clay. David was in a place where he was falling, and he could not get himself out of the grip of his fallen situation. But God, who is plenteous in mercy, but God, who is, as Jude says, able to keep us from falling. But God picked him up and delivered him from the very pit that he could not deliver himself from. And not only did God deliver him, got him out of the pit that he was in, but God did something else. He established David upon a rock. Isn't that wonderful to know that we may find ourselves in situations we did not get ourselves in? We may find ourselves in situations that we did not ask to be in, but if we cry unto the Lord, he will hear us, he will answer us, and he will change our situation. Finally, the Lord takes David from a place where he has fallen, a place where he has lost hope, and he delivers David to a place of firm security and assurance upon God. Later in the text it says that he delivered me and took me from a sinking place and put me on a firm place. The hymnist said, how firm a foundation, ye saints of the Lord, is laid for your faith in God's excellent word. Not only has he done that, but has the Lord established us upon this place, but he still hears and answers our prayer. I am grateful that God has not stopped answering prayers. God is still answering prayers. If you look in Genesis, he answered Hagar's prayer when she called upon him and he heard her. He answered the children of Israel's prayer when they called upon him and he delivered them. David called upon the Lord, and the Lord delivered him. Moses called upon the Lord, and the Lord delivered him. Paul called upon the Lord, and the Lord delivered him. The blind, the oppressed, the disabled, the marginalized, those who are the least of these of our society, they have all called upon the Lord, and the Lord has heard their cry. In our church, in our tradition, we end our prayer time with a chant that simply says, hear our prayer, O Lord. Hear our prayer, O Lord. Hear our prayer, O Lord, and grant us thy peace. To the members of the House of Representatives, I pray that the Lord hears our very prayers today. But even beyond these walls, that the Lord will not only hear and answer the prayers of each and every citizen of this great state of Georgia that you represent. Hear our prayer, O Lord, and grant us your peace. As the Savior taught us to pray, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Darlene Taylor, the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits has reviewed the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Taylor, the Chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, 159 Booths following me establishes the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Report of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 991 by Representative Rhodes, the 120th, and Williams, the 145th. A bill being titled Act to amend an act changing the method of electing the members of the Board of Education of Putnam County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 992 by Representative Lyle, the 122nd. Mathiak, the 73rd. Newton, the 123rd. Martin of the 49th. Dollar of the 45th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to emergency medical services.
Public safety and homeland security.
House Bill 993 by Representative Stevens and the 164th. A bill being titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 3, Chapter 27, Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions related to bona fide coin-operated amusement machines.
Regulated industries.
House Bill 994 by Representative Marin of the 96th, Holcomb of the 81st, Hilton of the 95th. Bill being titled an act to amend the act creating a new charter for the city of Norcross.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 995 by Representative Newton of the 123rd, Reinders of the 152nd, Brockway of the 102nd, and Holcomb of the 81st. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 80 of Title 36 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions applicable to counties, municipal corporations, and other governmental entities.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 1000 by Representative Holcomb of the 81st, a bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 34, Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to physicians, assistants, and others.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 1001 by Representative Taylor of the 79th, bill being titled an act to incorporate the city of Vista Grove into Cobb County.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 1002 by Representative Parker of the 101st, McLean of the 100th, Marin of the 96th, Dreyer of the 59th, and Shannon of the 84th, bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to employment security.
Industry and Labor.
House Resolution 1295 by Representative Rakestraw of the 19th, a resolution recognizing Mr. L. Douglas Griffith and dedicating a road in his honor.
Transportation.
House Resolution 1296 by Representative Schofield of the 60th, Kirby of the 114th, and Frye of the 118th, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Service Animals for physically or mentally impaired persons.
Special Rules.
House Resolution 1317 by Representative Welch of the 110th, Reeves of the 34th, Powell of the 171st, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on reforming real property taxation.
Ways and Means.
House Resolution 1318 by Representative Park of the 101st, Trammell of the 132nd, Alexander of the 66th, Wallace of the 119th, Gonzalez of the 117th, and others. A resolution creating a House Study Committee on comprehensive health and long-term care of Georgia's aging populations.
Human Relations and Aging.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 976 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to lottery for education. House Bill 977 by Representative Mathiak of the 73rd, a bill relating to tattoo studios. House Bill 979 by Representative Raffensperger of the 50th, a bill to amend an act to incorporate the city of Johns Creek. House Bill 980 by Representative Deffenbaugh of the 1st, a bill to authorize the governing authority of Dade County to levy an excise tax. House Bill 981 by Representative Willard of the 51st, a bill relating to notification to victims of accused motion for new trial or appeal. House Bill 982 by Representative Nimmer of the 178th, a bill relating to dependency proceedings. House Bill 983 by Representative Price of the 48th, a bill relating to Protocol Committee on Child Abuse, Written Protocol, Training in Members, and Written Sexual Abuse and Exploitation Protocol. House Bill 984 by Representative Park of the 101st, a bill relating to imposition rate computation and exemptions from income taxes. House Bill 985 by Representative McCall of the 33rd, a bill to amend an act to incorporate the town of Hull. House Bill 986 by Representative Nimmer of the 178th, a bill to amend an act providing for the governing authority of each county comprising the Waycross Judicial Circuit may supplement the compensation, salary, expenses, and allowance of each judge of the Superior Court of the Waycross Judicial Circuit. House Bill 987 by Representative Park of the 101st, a bill to provide comprehensive state civil rights laws protecting individuals from discrimination in housing, public accommodations, and employment. House Bill 988 by Representative Knight of the 130th, a bill relating to legal weapons for hunting wildlife. House Bill 989 by Representative Dreyer of the 59th, a bill relating to property tax exemptions. House Bill 990 by Representative Dickerson of the 113th, a bill to amend an act providing for the compensation of the board of the members and chairperson of the Board of Education of Rockdale County. House Bill 996 by Representative Dempsey of the 13th, a bill relating to the Georgia Technology Authority. House Bill 997 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th, a bill relating to sales tax for educational purposes. House Bill 998 by Representative Willard of the 51st, a bill relating to general provisions regarding courts. House Bill 999 by Representative Coomer of the 14th, a bill relating to weapons carry license, temporary renewal permit, mandamus, and verification of license. House Resolution 1257 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Workforce Shortage and Crisis in Home and Community-Based Settings. House Resolution 1258 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, resolution creating the House Study Committee on Equitable Taxation under Business and Occupation Taxes and Fees. House Resolution 1259 by Representative Gassaway of the 28th, resolution honoring the life of Mr. Hoyt Dean Dink McCoy, dedicating a road in his memory. House Resolution 1260 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd, a resolution creating the House Study Committee on Juvenile Court Judges. House Resolution 1261 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, a resolution recognizing United States military veterans, dedicating a highway in their honor. House Resolution 1292 by Representative Cooper of the 43rd, a resolution urging Georgia's Alzheimer's and related Dementia Advisory Council and its work groups to study providing access to quality long-term care for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and other related dementia. House Resolution 1293 by Representative Barr of the 103rd, resolution urging the United States Congress to pass the regulations from the Executive in Need of Scrutiny Act. House Resolution 1294 by Representative Park of the 101st, resolution creating a joint study committee on comprehensive civil rights legislation. Senate Bill 319 by Senator Alberts of the 56th, a bill to enact the Consolidation of Fire Safety Services in Georgia Act. Senate Bill 364 by Senator Hofstetler of the 52nd, a bill relating to delegation of authority to physician assistants. Senate Bill 365 by Senator Ligon Jr. of the 3rd, a bill to amend the Official Code of Georgia annotated so as to revise, modernize, correct errors or omissions. Senate Bill 389 by Senator Walker of the 3rd of the 20th, a bill to amend an act to create and establish the State Court of Houston County. Senate Bill 410 by Senator Anderson of the 43rd, a bill to amend an act creating the Board of Elections and Registration of Rockdale County. Senate Bill 440 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, a bill to amend an act providing a new charter for the city of Soperton. Senate Resolution 685 by Senator Jackson of the 2nd, a resolution renaming the bed of tidewater on the Georgia coast known as Runaway Negro Creek to Freedom Creek. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Greg Morris, the 156th District Chairman of the Committee on Banks and Banking, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Banks and Banking has had under consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 676, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Greg Morris, the 156th District Chairman. Representative Brooks Coleman of the 97th District Chairman of the Committee on Education submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education has had under its consideration following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with following recommendations. House Bill 718, due pass by substitute. House Bill 494, due pass by substitute. House Bill 844, due pass by substitute. House Resolution 1036, due pass. House Resolution 1162, due pass. House Bill 971, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Brooks Coleman of the 97th District, Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley of the 160th District, Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had under consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 900, due pass. House Bill 901, due pass. House Bill 911, due pass. House Bill 912, due pass. House Bill 921, due pass. House Bill 933, due pass. House Bill 942, due pass. House Bill 946, due pass. House Bill 952, due pass. House Bill 945, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District, Chairman. Representative Wendell Willard, the 51st District Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 986, due pass. House Bill 998, due pass. House Bill 791, due pass by committee substitute. House Resolution 993 do pass by committee substitute. House Bill 920 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Wendell Willard of the 51st District, Chairman. Representative Ballinger, the 23rd District Chairman of the Committee on Juvenile Justice, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Juvenile Justice has had under consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 166 do pass. House Bill 982 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Ballinger, the 23rd District Chairman. Representative Meadows of the 5th District Chairman of the Committee on Rules submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Rules has had under consideration the following bills of the House and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 973 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Meadows of the 5th District Chairman. Representative Kevin Tanner of the 9th District Chairman of the Committee on Transportation submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation has had under consideration the following bills and resolutions of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 930 do pass by committee substitute. House Resolution 444 do pass by committee substitute. House Resolution 1225 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Kevin Tanner of the 9th District Chairman. That completes the reports of standing committees.
The chair wants to announce that the bills on the local calendar, without objection, will be postponed until a day certain, which would be Wednesday, February 28. Is there objection? Chair hears none. It is so ordered. Local calendar will be postponed. We are all right, we're about to go on to morning orders. We are about to go to morning orders. This House will come to order. House will come to order. Chair recognizes Representative Coach Williams for a morning order. He waves. He's waving his forestry tag. Chair recognizes Representatives Dickerson and Frazier for a morning order.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker, and thank you. Since 1980, 35 states have constitutional protections for crime victims, including all of our neighboring states. Georgia is one of 15 states that has not yet done so. Georgia needs to pass Morrissey's Law to give crime victims in Georgia an equal voice and equal constitutional protections because, simply put, no rapist or abuser should have more rights than the person they victimized. Today I want to recognize one of my constituents, Kimmy Motler, and a group of pastors she has brought to the Capitol to support Morrissey's Law. Kimmy, if you would stand for me right now. When Kimmy decided to leave her abusive husband, she's in the gallery. As she dropped off her daughter for daycare, her husband shot her 4 times in the head and shot her young daughter in the head as well. He left them for dead. Miraculously, Kimmy and her daughter survived after months of medical care, and she's here with us today with the group of pastors in the gallery supporting Morrissey's Law.
Thank you, Kim. And we are so honored to have our pastors from throughout the state to join us this morning. I would like to recognize them. Please stand as I call your name. Pastor Eric Lee, Springfield Baptist Church. Kevin Reddick, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. Chris Shipp, Ball Rock Baptist Church, Al Sedler Senior Church of New Beginnings, James Walls Fellowship Outreach, Desiree Kitchen, New Revelations Community, Nathan Durham, New Beginnings Baptist Church, Quincy Brown, North Georgia United Methodist, Matthew Little, Kingdom Builders Fellowship, Larry Williams, City of Deliverance, Stephen Howard, True Visions, Gene Ward, African American Fellowship of GBC, Darrell E. Hall, Elizabeth Baptist Conyers, Stanley Cornell, South Merciful Ministries. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for continuing to support Marcy's Law.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Clay Cox for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You may have the privilege today of seeing an outstanding group from my district in Parkview High School, the Girl Up Club. They're here with some members of the faculty, and this is just a fantastic organization that just does so much to create the next generation of outstanding women leaders, not only in my district, but throughout Georgia. And be sure to say hello to them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative McGowan for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm glad to have the students and teachers from Marion County schools here visiting, furthering their education. They'll be around the Capitol today. It's about 100 miles that way to Marion County, so our timing might be a little off, but I'm mighty proud to have them here today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Derek Jackson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen in the House, 27 years ago, I was on my third deployment and my second combat zone. It was for Desert Shield, Desert Storm, for those who can recall that it was the precursor for the Gulf War. And prior to going to any combat zone, you set up some standing operating procedures. That way, everyone can successfully come back home alive. And I know, Mr. Speaker, we don't have bombs and bullets and tomahawks and harpoons in this forum, but I humbly request that we do have a set of rules. And those rules are just like SOPs to me. And so I humbly request all my colleagues, let's observe the rules. Now, you may not like them like I do, but I respect them. It's designed to allow for us to have a democracy in this chamber in the most civil manner. Let us not hold bills as hostages. Let them go through the process. Let them stand on their own merits. Let us not censor one another's voice. There is this democracy that me and other veterans have fought to preserve. These rules help us provide that democracy. We all have a voice. We were all sent here to exercise that voice. Let us observe these rules in this House so that way we can go back to our district and say with an honest face, why certain bills were heard or were not heard. Not because a group or individual have threatened not to allow for that particular piece of good legislation that can help 10.4 million Georgians. So let's exercise democracy, much like the democracy I fought for 27 years ago during the first Gulf War. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to speak.
One of those rules is no applauding. Chair recognizes Representative Erica Thomas for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you so much, colleagues. I rise today because every single day we wake up, we put our clothes on, and we get ready to come to the Capitol to work hard to make sure that Georgians have a better life. And I truly believe in our hardest of hearts that we have the best interests of our constituents. Every day, much like you and I, Edna Ume woke up every morning and got ready and risked her life to make sure that students made it safely across the street to school every single day. But on November the 30th, she was at her third and last school on her cross guard morning shift when she saw a car going extremely fast when our students were trying to cross the street to get safely to school. And she yelled, "Slow down!" And she waved her stop sign. But that did not stop this car from striking and killing her that day. This was devastating. And our students had to witness this firsthand. Oh, but this is not an isolated incident. In 2015, 373 Georgians were killed in a school zone, much like Edna Ume, and 11,000 injuries. Our students need our help. And I cannot let another session go by when right now we have good legislation that will help our students make it safely to school. Right now, our students need your help in getting some good legislation from across the street over here to the House of Representatives floor, and it is called Edna Law. And we need to recognize that our students need our help and put our pride aside and think about our students first. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representatives Cannon, Representative Park, Chairman Beverly, Representative Schofield, Representative Shannon, and Representative Mosby for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm joined in the well to welcome a school here in Atlanta. It's called the Pride School of Atlanta. They are pioneers in creating a safe educational environment for LGBTQ youth so that they may grow and spread like yeast into the future leaders of tomorrow. And speaking of yeast, I want to welcome the Sweet Auburn Bread Company, which is also here, celebrating 21 years of culinary excellence on the Food Network. Thank you, Sonia, for being here with your family. And this concludes our moment in Black history. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Earhart for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, first off, to the representative, thank you for your service. That's respected, and I appreciate the respect for the rules. But let me give you a little perspective on rules. This red book has been around as long as I've been here, 30 years. There's a smaller book. Chairman Spire, you remember it. There was a smaller red book. But ladies and gentlemen, this hasn't changed more than about 2% in all those years. Let me tell you one thing about this set of rules. This set of rules is almost 99% the same set of rules as every legislative body in this country. And you know what the basic premise of all of these is? That in a legislative body, if you control 50% plus one of the votes, you get to make the rules. That's what this democracy is all about. I heard about democracy. 50% plus one, you get to win the vote. You get to make the rules, whether you're Republican or Democrat. Let's talk about passing bills. You know how long it took me to pass a bill in Murphy's house? 15 years. Please don't tell me that your feelings are hurt because you haven't passed a bill in your first 10, maybe, first year. Perspective, ladies and gentlemen. I feel for you. I was there. But I never came to this well and said it was the rules that was keeping me from getting there. It was the fact that I didn't have 50% plus one. I worked for years with many people that are still in this house to get to 2005. And then the rules changed. A different team won some of the games. That's just how it works. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here, we have differing philosophical perspectives. We have differences of opinion. But just because you don't pass a bill and it doesn't get on this floor, it's not a conspiracy. It's not because we don't like you. It's because sometimes it just takes a little while to succeed in the legislative process. I won't tell you all the things. I'll give you an anecdote. I remember what Speaker Murphy told me when I beat his Ways and Means chairman of 36 years. He told me my seat was going to be out there in the bathroom, and that the only thing Republicans were good for was like grasshoppers putting your boot on them. So next time you're feeling a little sad because things aren't working out where you're winning a vote, ask yourself if this speaker has ever mentioned putting a boot on anybody's neck, and you'll find that that's never happened. He's the most collaborative individual that I've ever met. We passed so many more pieces of legislation from the opposition party under this speaker than ever passed under Speaker Murphy. Just some perspective in a day in the legislature. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Anulowicz for a morning order.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, everyone. I'll be very quick. I just wanted to point out that on your desk today there is a piece of paper from the Junior League of Atlanta talking a little bit about their legislative agenda. The Junior League of Atlanta has really been at the forefront of advocacy here in Georgia for several decades. They have led the way on the Safe Harbor Act issue. They've led the way on issues impacting intergenerational poverty, women, early childhood education, anything involving women and children. You can bet the Junior League has a stance. There are actually 4 members of the Junior League of Atlanta in this body right now. And if you saw the members of the Junior League who were here on Wednesday, and when you see them at the Capitol again, make sure you say hey, because I think every member of the Junior League who's in the House now was also on that Political Affairs Committee, so these leaguers you see walking the halls may one day be your colleagues. With that, I yield.
Chair recognizes Representative Sheila Jones to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce the Doctor of the Day. Dr. Scott Swayze, MD, is a board-certified orthopedic surgeon. He is a partner of Pinnacle Orthopedics and has been providing orthopedic care to patients of Pinnacle Orthopedics since he joined the group in 1992. He specializes in general orthopedics, total joint replacement, and sports medicine, and sees patients in offices in Marietta, Woodstock, and Hiram. Dr. Swayze received his BS in biomedical engineering from Vanderbilt University and his medical degree from the University of Mississippi. His general surgery internship and his orthopedic surgery residency were both completed at Emory University, affiliated hospitals. Dr. Swayze is a member of the WellStar Board of Trustees and is a member of several local, state, and national orthopedic associations. He has also been the team physician for many local schools and sporting events. Dr. Swayze is currently living in Atlanta, Georgia with his wife, Carol. In his free time, he enjoys traveling, church, and activities with his 5 children. Please join me in welcoming our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker and Representative. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you all so much for what you do for hospitals, physicians, and most importantly, the health of the citizens of the state of Georgia. Thank you.
House will continue to be in order. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 1121.
House Resolution 1121 by Resident Morris, the 26th Epps of the 144th, Caldwell, the 131st, Tanner, the 9th, Jones, the 25th, and others. A resolution recognizing and commending the state YMCA of Georgia and its Center for Civic Engagement and Y Club programs, which sponsor youth assembly, among other programs that cultivate youth civic engagement and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Todd Jones for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here today to talk about something that when you think about education, I know that there's a lot of opinions in this chamber regarding what's right and what's wrong. What's the best way to ensure that our children are able to get the best education they can through their high school, their middle school, their elementary experience? However, I think there's one thing we can agree on, and that's the fact that immersion and putting our children into the environment that we want them to succeed in is something we can all agree on, and that's exactly what the youth program is doing within the Georgia YMCA. They're here today to talk to you about what they do every November. As a matter of fact, this will be their 73rd year taking over our chamber. It'll also be an opportunity for them to thank you, because many of you do sponsor your seat during this program in the fall, and they want to make sure that they reach out to you and say thank you. So it's my privilege and it's also my opportunity to introduce to you the Youth Governor, Aaron Fondal. Aaron?
Good morning, members of the House of Representatives. My name is Aaron Fondal, and I am from Locust Grove. I've had the pleasure to serve as one of the youth governors of Youth Assembly, as the state of YMCA of Georgia held 2 programs for the 73rd Youth Assembly. Last November, we were fortunate to hold our 73rd Youth Assembly program right here under the Golden Dome. Between our 2 assemblies, more than 1,000 high schoolers from across the state of Georgia are able to engage in passionate debate and discussion on topics that they care about. And I would like to take this moment to recognize our presiding officers of that conference. These students were learning and teaching one another through respectful discussion and bridging that divide. And I would like to thank you for the opportunity to have access to this wonderful place. There's no better place to learn about Georgia's government than where it actually takes place. Our groups are eager and look forward to getting back to these chambers this November. Intelligent and understanding debate is a rare resource today, and we would like to take this moment to thank you for using it each and every day in this chamber, and for supporting us as we seek to teach students to use it in their everyday lives. I do believe that if we continue to work together as a group with respect for each individual, this state will continue to be a shining example to all other states across the nation about the power of passionate and intellectual debate. Thank you, and may God bless the great state of Georgia.
We're going on now to the rules calendar. We still have some special guests that we're going to honor, but we're going to begin on the rules calendar. The chair would ask the clerk to read the caption to House Bill 732.
House Bill 732 by Representative Silcox, the 52nd, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 16-5-46 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating the trafficking of persons for labor or sexual servitude, so as to expand the offense of trafficking an individual for sexual servitude. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
The chair recognizes we're going on to the rules calendar, and I'm going to ask every member of the House that's in the chamber to please take your seats and cease audible conversation. Chair recognizes Representative Silcox to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you today House Bill 732. House Bill 732 expands the definition of sex trafficking to include anyone who knowingly solicits or patronizes a sex trafficking victim. By allowing this expansion, this bill would enable prosecutors to successfully prosecute and convict the Johns that are responding to ads on the internet and prey on sex trafficking victims. Additionally, this bill improves the sentencing portion of the law to say that anyone committing sex trafficking against a victim 16 or older can be convicted of a felony and imprisoned from 5 to 20 years, and against a victim of less than 16 years for 10 to 20 years. It is my sincere hope that this law will be the beginning of the end of sex trafficking in Georgia, and I ask for your favorable consideration. Mr. Speaker, are there any questions?
You do have questions if you care to yield.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Reeves to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
Yes, I do.
Representative Silcox, isn't it true that this, the language in this bill that you are presenting today was exact language that came in a bill last year that passed the House of Representatives 168 to 1?
That's true.
And do you further yield?
Yes, I do.
Isn't it also true that this language was kind of at the very last minute removed in the Senate, and it created a sentencing, for lack of a better term, snafu that we're attempting to restore this year?
You know of what you speak.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you further yield?
I'll yield the well. Thank you.
Lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on House Bill 732? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 732 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 732. The ayes are 163, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. House will come to order. This House will be in order. I'm going to ask all members that are within the chamber, please take your seats and cease conversation. We have a very special guest with us who's really not a stranger to state government, former Chair of the Fulton County Commission, former Secretary of State of Georgia, and now I'm very proud to say is the congressman, congresswoman, congressperson from the 6th Congressional District of Georgia. Please make welcome Congresswoman Karen Handel.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. I bet some of y'all never expected to see this day, now did you? It is so great to be back here in the Georgia Capitol, and it has been some time since I was Secretary of State and had an office on the 2nd floor, and sometime since I had my eye on another office on the 2nd floor. But times, they do change, and what I know is this, that former rivals and real leaders, we understand that the future is what lies in front of us. And I am here today to first thank you, and so many of you in this chamber who have not just been supporters, but you have been great friends to me over the years, and I very much appreciate that. I'm here also to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve you and the people of the 6th District and the state of Georgia in Washington. Let me also take this opportunity to wish our First Lady, Sandra Deal, a continued speedy recovery in her fight against breast cancer. And certainly curing this disease is a cause that I have long been involved in, and it's close to my heart. But as each of you know, it becomes very personal when it's someone that we know who is fighting the disease. But what I know about our First Lady is that she is a fighter, a real fighter. And cancer better watch out, because she's going to win that one too. I've been in the U.S. House of Representatives for just 8 months, and we are starting to make some very real progress on our agenda. Georgians can now keep more of their hard-earned money in their paychecks thanks to the largest, most sweeping tax cut reform package in a generation. And I want to applaud this body for your work and also passing along those income taxes so that the power of this great economy will continue to be unleashed. Certainly, each of us have our roles, federal for me, state for you, but we are partners in working to make the lives of every single Georgian better. We will continue to work together to find ways to do that. We're addressing the opioid crisis head on and doing that together, and I want you to know that the budget deal that was recently struck has an additional $3 billion in it in FY18 and FY19, dollars that will be coming to the states to help you and to help our communities fight this incredible crisis that we're having. Georgia is extremely well positioned on the infrastructure front. Why? Because you had the courage to take the first step to helping ourselves and our state, and that is going to be noticed and recognized when you come to the federal government looking for matches and federal partnerships. So I pledge to you that I will be your partner, and come see me anytime. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to serving you as well, and I thank you so very much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you. God bless each of you, and God bless our great state. Thank you so much.
Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 815.
House Bill 815 by Representative Martin of the 49th, being titled an act to amend Code Section 40-2-86, the official code of Georgia, annotated relating to the special license plates promoting and supporting certain beneficial projects, agencies, funds, or nonprofit corporations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Martin to present the bill.
Speaker, members, it's Friday afternoon. I know you folks are ready to go. So this is House Bill 815. This simply lets the Masonic home, children's home down in Macon, get the $10 for the specialty license plates. The tags were passed last year, and we neglected to put the portion in the code that let the Masons get the $10 to help these kids in the Masonic Children's Home in Macon. There are over 21 they've helped since 1905. Vote for this bill today, and you're helping the kids down in Macon. Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well.
You have no questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 815 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 815. The ayes are 164, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 790.
House Bill 790 by Representative Abstration of the 104th to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 13 and Title 50. The official code of Georgia annotated relating the Office of State Administrative Hearings so as to implement recommendations of the Court Reform Council to improve efficiencies and achieve best practices for the administration of justice. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Abstration to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you today House Bill 790. This bill is the result of recommendations made by the Georgia Court Reform Council, a council that worked during the past year prior to session, with Majority Whip Coomer serving on the council, as well as, the commission, I believe, the commission, as well as Representative Oliver serving. This bill deals with recommendations concerning expediency in the administrative law proceeding, hearings that there can be quick resolution and ultimate disposition of cases. Be happy to answer any questions, and members, I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 790 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 790. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 809.
House Bill 809 by Representative Hitchens and the 161st and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-8-91, the official code of Georgia annotated relating the marking and equipment of law enforcement vehicles and motorists allowed to continue to safe location before stopping for law enforcement officer vehicles. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens to present the bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is a simple bill, and it goes back some. I get in a little trouble sometimes being too definitive about what I speak about and get long-winded, but when you have 1,300 law enforcement officers working for you for many years, you better be very careful what you say, and you better be in depth about what you tell them, because you're going to be on the hook when you get sued, and I'm very careful about that, and I speak too long sometimes, but this is a simple bill. Back in 2009, I was the Commissioner of Public Safety, and our budget got cut $20 million. When we ran the first analysis of what was going to happen, because the year before we'd been cut 5%, the year before that we'd been cut 3%. Somewhere I was going to have to let go between 150 and 170 people. So we looked at everything we could do to conserve money so that we could keep everybody on staff and be a viable organization. One of the things we found was that it cost us $500 a car to paint Georgia State Patrol cars blue and gray. So we got a bill passed that allowed us for 5 years to run cars that were solid color to save that $500. When you buy about 250 to 300 cars a year, $500 is a lot of money. There was a 5-year moratorium on that. When they changed it, they changed the law. Prior to that, we were allowed to keep 5 cars in each patrol post that were solid color. They took all that out, so the law now says that all of them have to be blue and gray. What concerns us is that if we get back to a time where there's a recession, it costs $1,300 a car now to paint them blue and gray. So the troopers like them blue and gray. That's what they want. It doesn't matter where you ride in this state, from Blue Ridge or Dillard to the swamps of the Okefenokee or over around Cuthbert. If you're in a rural area in Georgia and you're driving a blue and gray state patrol car, 2 out of 3 people that come by wave at you when you stop and talk, people to stop and talk to you. Just before I retired, I did a survey around the state because it became very obvious to me that a lot of people that worked in our department ran for public office. There were over 60 that year that got elected to some public office in this state. And I believe that's because of the honesty and integrity of the people. And we have we've always had a profile that we like to maintain, and honesty and integrity is one of them. We're all for blue and gray cars. We not only have been the #1 state to do business for 5 years, every year there's a competition amongst the American State Troopers Association about the best looking patrol cars in the country. And here I've got the calendars for the last 2 years. The Georgia State Patrol has come in first in 2017 and 2018 for the marked cars. And these are sold all over the country, from California to Maine to Florida. And they want them to be blue and gray, but we would like to have the option, if we get in trouble again with finances, to be able to have a couple of solid color cars to save money. Mr. Speaker, I'll yield for questions. I probably talked too long.
That all depends on how many questions you were expecting. Chair recognizes Chairman Martin to your right for a question.
Gentleman, yield.
I yield.
Direct this to the chair, if I might. Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that I have the greatest respect for the colonel down here today? I do have great respect for the colonel. Isn't that true, Mr. Speaker?
That's what you told me.
Yes, sir. Isn't it true? Out of that such great respect, and isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that if the gentleman had just read us the 25-line bill, it would have been shorter than his explanation this morning? Isn't that true, Mr. Speaker? Isn't it further true that the Colonel is right, and I hope we pass this bill for him quickly?
Well, I have a reputation to protect here.
Do you further yield?
Yes, sir, I yield.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
I really appreciate the good colors you use, but have you considered red and black cars?
No, we haven't.
Thank you.
No further questions.
I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 809 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 809. The ayes are 163. The nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 830.
House Bill 830 by Representative Hardin of the 148th, be entitled an act to amend Code Chapter 13 to Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to controlled substances so as to change certain provisions relating to Schedules 1 and 2 controlled substances. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Non-Civil. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hardin to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 830 is referred to as a controlled substance drug update, but this bill this year also contains 45 new drugs that were made available to Georgia physicians and physicians throughout the country to treat a variety of diseases. So I just ask for your favorable consideration of this drug update.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 830 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 830. The ayes are 161. The nays are 5. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 849.
House Bill 849 by Representative Peake of the 141st to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to income tax so as to provide for reporting of federal partnership adjustments. This bill having referred to the Committee on Ways and Means, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Knight to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the committee. Representative Pete was not here today, and the second signer I'm going to present. Basically, this is a conformity legislation as part of the Federal Partnership Act. Basically, the partnership audit process previously at federal code had been in place since 1982. And in 2015, they passed the PATH Act, which begins and is in effect as of January 1, 2018. What we're doing with this bill is conforming our state code to follow that in regards to the partnership audit procedures. That will make sure that we're in conformity, ease of administration, making sure that the state and the feds are handled the exact same way as far as the audit process. With that, I'll ask for any questions, Mr. Speaker.
You have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate your favorable consideration.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 849 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 849, the ayes are 170, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 847.
House Bill 847 by Representative Chandler, the 105th, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 39 and Title 43 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia, annotated relating to psychologists, so as to enter into an interstate compact known as the Psychology Interjurisdictional Compact, and to provide for related matters. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Regulated Industries, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Chandler to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And colleagues, I present to you a good bill, and you have information on your desk about the bill, but let me briefly explain what this bill does. It, first of all, addresses the emphasis today that we have on the critical need for the expansion of mental health services. The Psychology Compact, or Psych Pact, provides an avenue for additional psychological services. It was created to provide an accessible, manageable, regulatory structure for allowing for our psychologists to participate in telepsychology and temporary person-to-person, face-to-face service or practice in another compact state. It provides for a continuity of care when the client relocates, travels, etc. Given the urgency and the gravity which oftentimes exist, this bill would ensure an increased level of patient care and safety. The Psychology Compact also permits psychologists to provide services in areas that are isolated and geographically isolated, or underserved, and also to address mental health care due to the stigma of mental illness or lack of specialty care. There are two aspects of this compact. The first one is telepsychology, and the other is temporary, in-person, face-to-face practice. The telepsychology aspect allows for the licensed psychologist to practice telepsychology in another compact state when that psychologist receives what's known as an e-passport. The temporary in-person, face-to-face aspect allows a psychologist to go into another compact state and practice for up to 30 days in a calendar year when that psychologist receives what's known as an IPC, or an interjurisdictional practice certificate. In both of these situations, the client could be traveling, working out of state, or perhaps relocating. Throughout the bill, you will see the terms compact, home, receiving, distant. The home in the compact state is the state where the psychologist is licensed and where the psychology is physically present. The receiving state is the state in which the psychologist is practicing telepsychology. The distant state is the state where the psychologist goes temporarily for up to 30 days to provide psychological services. The psychology compact will go into effect when there are 7 states to sign on. Currently, there are only 3 states, but there are 6 states, including Georgia, who have pending legislation, and there are 10 states considering this legislation. I will be glad to answer any questions. Mr. Speaker?
You have no questions.
Thank you, and I would appreciate your favorable support.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 847 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. What purpose does Chairman Smith rise?
Make a motion, Speaker.
State your motion.
I need to recommit House Bill 818 to insurance.
Chairman Smith has moved that House Bill 818 be recommitted to the Insurance Committee. It is on the rules calendar today. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 818 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 24, Title 33 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia, annotated relating to insurance generally, so as to provide that a health care provider shall choose the method by which such provider shall be reimbursed.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 818 be recommitted to the Insurance Committee, is there objection? Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Chair recognizes Chairman Smith for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Insurance Committee will meet in
the anteroom right now. Thank you.
Is that right now? Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 867.
House Bill 867 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st be titled an act to amend Chapter 8 and Title 35 of the Fiscal Code of Georgia annotated relating to the employment and training of peace officers so as to revise the quorum for transaction of business by the State Peace Officers Standard and Training Council. This bill having referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Hitchens to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in behalf of House Bill 867. This is another cleanup bill that appertains to the Peace Officer Standards and Training Council. And I want to try and run through it right quick and just go through the changes. Last year we added a couple new members to the committee, so what it does is change the quorum to a simple majority from 7 to 11 to account for those members. Secondly, and I thought we'd already handled this in all agencies in state government that had law enforcement officers, but it requests that upon retirement that the 9 investigators that investigate police officers across the state be able to retain their badge and guns. Thirdly, there's an entrance examination that they have to take. It's a general knowledge test. The requirement up to this point has been that if you fail that examination, it's graded on the 12th grade level. You have to wait 30 days to take it again. They want to waive that so that you take it again immediately. A lot of these people that take this test haven't been in school for a long time. And they want to waive the requirement for those people that have associate's or bachelor's degrees, undergraduate degrees from an accredited university, and that they believe they've demonstrated that they have an intellectual ability above the 12th grade. And lastly, they want to do away with certification and training of police chaplains. They spend a lot of time and money now training police chaplains, and they never do carry a badge and gun. Typically, they take them with them when they have to deliver bad news to members of the public about their relatives and that kind of thing, and they're already trained in that environment. They believe that the police agencies ought to be able to pick who they want to be their chaplains without having to go through this bureaucratic process. And I yield for questions, Mr. Speaker.
You have no questions.
I yield the will.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 867 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 867. The ayes are 167, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 784.
House Bill 784 by Representative Dubnik of the 29th, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 40-2-86 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to special license plates, promoting and supporting certain beneficial projects, causes, agencies, funds, or nonprofit corporations. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Motor Vehicles. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Dubnik to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring before you today House Bill 784, which will create a specialty license plate for Ducks Unlimited. Ducks Unlimited is an organization that I've been very passionately involved with for about 15 years. Two quick facts. We have over 1 million members across North America, 20,000 here in the state of Georgia. The funds and the revenue generated from this plate sale will stay within the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, specifically earmarked for Wildlife Resources Division to fund wetlands, habitat, and waterfowl work here in Georgia. Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to yield for any questions.
You have questions if you care to yield.
I'll yield.
Chair recognizes your delegation colleague, Representative Donahue, to your left.
Does the gentleman yield?
For you, absolutely.
Is it not true that you're an avid duck hunter?
I would say so, yes,
and
sir.
that I'm an avid duck hunter also.
I would agree with that.
I thank you for bringing the bill, but back on an earlier tag request, there was a certain gentleman, I think Buzz, that stepped up and talked about a certain little bee I think you have on your name tag.
It's a yellow jacket, Representative.
Is it not true that this extends the season to year round on shooting that pest when you're in the duck blind?
If by the mosquito you're referring to, then yes, sir, it does.
Thank you for the bill.
Thank you.
We thought it had already been shot. You have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 784 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 784. The ayes are 166. The nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chairman Meadows, do you plan to have another Rules Committee meeting today to set a supplemental calendar for this afternoon?
I think we should.
If you don't, we're just going to drive this thing on home. You can be seated. That's right. Actually, I'm advised that you will have to have one. But it shouldn't take but 30 seconds. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 825.
House Bill 825 by Representative Williams, the 145th, to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 16, and Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to death investigations, so as to allow the chief medical examiner to inter and disinter unidentified human remains under certain circumstances. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Rick Williams to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I come before you today with House Bill 825. This is much needed for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They have had unclaimed remains at the crime lab for many years. This will allow them to give these people a dignified end to their life here on earth. They have drawn DNA from these cadavers, so if any family ever shows up wishing to claim the remains, the GBI will know exactly where they are interred. They can compare the DNA with the claimant family member, and if it is a match, then they can allow the disinterment and turning over the remains to the family. I will yield for questions, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes, do you yield for questions?
I do, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tom Taylor to your right for a question.
Gentleman yield?
I do.
To my somber friend in the well. This is a serious bill, but I wanted to ask you, going back to my friend Ms. Bentley, would you entertain an amendment to this to allow a hearse to drive in the HOV lane as long as they have a paying passenger aboard?
That could be added in as an amendment if you wish to make that motion.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you for your consideration. I ask for your favorable consideration for this bill. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 825 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 825, the ayes are 167, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the chairman of the House Rules Committee for an announcement.
Well, we'll go home Saturday for all I care. There'll be a Rules Committee meeting at 12:15 exactly. Isn't that how you say it, Richard? Okay.
All right, the House Rules Committee meeting is at 12:15. We will be in recess for 20 minutes.